Universities are where young people go to be taught stuff. The problem is what they're taught. We know that higher education is suffused with ideas like critical race theory, which takes us back to the bad old days of division, segregation, and judging people by their skin colour. Trans ideology, which says you can basically change your sex, and that's being taught as fact at these institutions, for which young people pay handsomely as well as the taxpayer. Now, these universities have ceased to be a place of open debate and the competition of ideas, with public speakers cancelled from events if they don't challenge the particular woke, politically correct scripture. Spend more than 10 minutes in many universities and you'll hear that Brexit's terrible, that Britain has a shameful past, and anybody with right-of-centre views are not just wrong, but bad people. They're to be vilified, they're to be destroyed. In both America and here in Britain, we've heard lecturers talk about safe spaces for students, so they're not exposed to ideas or material that could trigger or upset them. Surely the opposite should be the case. It's university. Our young people, upon whom our future depends, should be exposed to ideas that could trigger them every day of the week. They must be intellectually uncomfortable. They must have narratives smashed and orthodoxies challenged. Young people at university should be the most open-minded in our society, not the most closed-minded, the most bigoted, the most ideological, the most rigid, which they are fast becoming. Young people should be exposed to the attrition of debate, the battle of ideas, which is the story of human history and Western civilization. But I worry that with the culture at some universities where it seems there's more leftist brainwashing than teaching at play, we risk going backwards as a society. With young people inculcated in the idea that Britain is a dreadful country which has got to apologise for everything, including itself. This creates problems for the future, because one day these young people will be in charge. They'll be running our corporations and our institutions. I worry that we're going the way of American universities, where this week the head of Harvard said that calling for genocide in Israel was not necessarily harassment of Jewish people. Of course, many students reject the woke madness, but as we see in many aspects of cancel culture, they keep their thoughts private, they self-censor, and they don't speak out for fear of attack. They're being bullied, just like the rest of us. Like the students at Bristol University, an ancient institution, a fabulous example of British intellectual excellence, which has quietly ditched the national anthem from their graduation ceremony. Literally, the song of this country. Why have they cancelled it? For fear of offending some students. There are no words. Actually, there are a couple, but they're unbroadcastable. We now live in a country where Britain's institutions hate Britain. You've got BBC TV presenters mocking politicians for conducting an interview in front of the flag of our country, sniggering at the Union Jack, which other countries are laughing at their own national flag. None of them. If you did that in America, it's game over. You got last night at the proms and the BBC, our national state broadcaster, getting rid of Land of Hope and Glory, presumably because they're so embarrassed about our history and traditions. This is dangerous stuff. We're turning into a country that hates itself, even though we should love the place and be proud. For centuries, we've exported the principles of democracy, the rule of law, tolerance, open-mindedness, free trade, free speech, fair play and decency. And we were the first major power to end slavery. Loving your country is the only way for it to be successful, which is why the magnificent Michaela School in West London, whose intake is predominantly from poorer pupils of ethnic origin, led by Britain's strictest headmistress, Catherine Birbalsingh, is such an inspiration. With a culture of strict discipline, many of these kids wind up at Oxford and Cambridge every year. They're told to be at school on time, the homework has to be perfect and well presented, and guess what they do every morning? They sing the national anthem, and they're taught to be proud of their country. This is bringing young people together, rather than sowing division, which is, of course, in the woke playbook, along with the scourge of identity politics and the culture of victimhood. Now, here on GB News, we proudly play the national anthem at 6 a.m. every morning, unlike certain other broadcasters I could mention. But I think once a day is not enough. In fact, I quite fancy a bit of God Save the King now. So, Dominique. God, I love this country. So, Bristol University gets rid of the national anthem on its graduation ceremony for fear of causing offence. What does that tell you, folks? It tells you we've got a problem. Britain is being cancelled by its own institutions. This move by a top university is a scandal of the first degree. I've marked their coursework and I'm giving them an F.